In this round of AirMech, Tangibility's team takes on Broadside and Company in the Chasm map. Okay, here is a game that has been in the making for like a half a fucking hour. In fact, I think I went and spec'd another game while waiting for this one to start, and it was like another 15 minutes until it actually went down. Had a bite to eat, still digesting it at the moment. It's still processing. It's still in the early phases of digestion as I do this. But we are about to get things going on Chasm. I can't fucking wait. We're off. Thus far, both sides keeping to their side of the board. Who's letting those neutrals chew their shit up? Green? Broadside shows up on scene, puts an end to that. I don't believe those tanks have range at the moment, as the entire green team converges on this central outpost, and the entire fucking entirety of both teams gets all up in it. Blue clears out their side first, makes that snag. And it looks like the T-99's on green's side. Not long for this world either. JuliusCaesar polishes him off with a few bombs. Goes to work on green's creeps. Almost gets taken down by that Beppo Hog chain gun. And blue with an early advantage. Hanging on to that outpost. Green setting up that artillery. Might want to adjust the alignment on that one on the right just a little bit. Maybe that's supposed to intercept any tank lines that blue might send through here. You always got to think 2 moves ahead. It's kind of like chess with spiky-haired little nerd chicks. Blue hanging on to this pretty good. This whole fucking match right now, just one big play for the center. Tangibility. Ooh, they cross the streams on Tangibility. He issues the daw. And that will bring... Caesar going down as well will bring a bit of a power play for green. Both sides have had a huge chunk taken out of them from this conflict for the middle. Green still with that one errant artillery unit. God, that bugs me. That's just like when you've got a shirt with just one big thread hanging off of it. You just want to yank, or when you see it on somebody else's shirt, but you can hardly like yank it off of somebody else's shirt. That's how I feel about that one arty. Tangibility with a double kill. You just want to reach into the game and crank that shit just like 45 degrees to the right way. JuliusCaesar tries to take it out. He gets taken out. Tangibility tries to chain gun his way to fame. Not able to do it. Throws down a couple of jackals. Ooh, gets EMP struck by Dark Blaze. Will he hold out, folks? No, he does not. Dark Blaze does get the kill. Another doll from Tangibility. Broadside with a kill. Oh, he gets the OP. The highest form of recognition that can be bestowed from one AirMech player to another. Finally, we get one team going for some opposite field action in the form of Tangibility, making a strike on Green's factory. Goes to work on that economy. Economy, apparently spelled with a fucking A. Dark Blaze with that Longhorn does not last very long, though. Once Tangibility gets behind it, Broadside shows up and eventually Tangibility does have to head back for base. But pops right back over there. Not looking to give up on it. Gets chased off again. Gets back for the recharge. Broadside. Making it happen with that chain gun. And this time, the OP declaration might not be out of place. Oh, here we go. Jackal. Tangibility. Duh. Now, Blue, they've had this middle for the whole time, but they have not really been that successful in getting a solid mass going. They've only ever had a few units up in front. Green kind of had a shaky counteroffensive going at the start, but they've managed to build it up to something worth being proud of. Decent amount of arty on that. Are they arties? Archies? What the fuck ever. They're long-distance mortar units that fucking arc shots over at you. And at the moment, they're really playing hell on Blue's forces. Back at Blue's base, Dark Blaze trying to get funky. This is baseual harassment, and Blue doesn't have to take it anymore. Actually, for the moment, they do have to take it. As Blaze not going for their base, but just kind of fucking with their socket units. He does live to tell about it. Back at middle, Green making some real inroads here. Blue's entire force on this side reduced to ash as they're forced to pull back. Iamadeus taking the ground and taking a chunk out with that bomber, those bomber claws, but eventually he goes down. Blue's still hanging on to this, but for how long? And this whole thing is something that they're going to have to deal with sooner rather than later. Tangibility going for the time-honored hover over the outpost and spray tactic. What Warthog player doesn't love doing that? What is kind of tough for the blue team is that they're kind of being held to that. Every time they venture out here, they're getting sprayed up and they got to retreat. Oh, what's this? Dark Blaze. Okay, he's just beefing up his defenses. I guess it wasn't really that exciting. It didn't really warrant the zoom in. We gave him one anyway. Any excuse to get this action going, we're fucking taking it. Tangibility. Trying to move it and trying to make a dent in this, and it's going to be tough doing. Mecha unit gets into it with Broadside. And, oh, he does take him down. Looks like just on the edge of that chain gun's range. And some sportsmanship from Broadside. That's always nice to see. Bertha's now in the mix. And in fact, Tangibility at level 7. Oh, double kill. Who's rocking the late game shit up in this bitch? Tangibility going to work. Gets chased off by all three and does get killed for it. And Dark Blaze does get the daw out of him. But who's rocking those Goliaths? Does anybody on blue have them? The grinder is in the mix. It has not been deployed as of yet, but not seeing that Goliath on the blue side. It's a rare unit to have not one player on a 3-man team equipped with. Blue kind of on borrowed time with this. It has gone neutral. And it's in the range of so much mortar that if they do reclaim it, it's not going to be for long. Green gets 3 lights on it before it gets re-neutralized. Broadside. That is one fearsome unit. There was a lot of just spinning shit. I wonder if these spinning rotors on it have any fucking function whatsoever in terms of keeping that thing afloat, or if they're just there to just spin. Whoever was building it was like, you know what? There's not enough spinning shit on this. We need some shit that just kind of spins on the fucking wings of this. Seemed to be working pretty well as Broadside just barely gets back to his outpost. Takes down Mecha Unit and scares off the other motherfucker. Gogs. Is that slang for good game? What is this exactly? Green staking a bit of a claim on that middle part. Blue not trying to let him have it with those Berthas. And in fact, with the range on those things and that elevated position, oh, they're dumping on it. Just dumping. That is actually a pretty good defensive stance for Blue to have, but overall, things are turning in not such a great way for the blue side. Up here, Dark Blaze trying to backline him. Trying to take a chunk out of this fucking force that they've got here. It is kind of tough going with those Neo guns, but he does get he does take down one of those Berthas. Tangibility gets vengeance on Broadside. And, Green almost in the inverse position that they had Blue in not too long ago, where they've got this. But there is some nasty indirect fire coming down on them. And actually, it's going to be a little, well, somewhat more difficult to deal with in terms of distance. Blue with a bit less of ground support on it. Broadside going to work on these neutrals. Both of these bridges still untouched up until this moment. Let's follow. Action shot. Tangibility takes over the action shot. Going right for that fucking Bertha. Oh, gets microed out. Tangibility forced to retreat, but not before scooping up a level. Grinder hits the scene. That is not what you want to see when you've got a build-up like this. Whose alarm just went off? No appreciable base damage on either side. And no appreciable base defense either. It's another game where the entirety of it has just been focused on this one middle expansion. A couple of forays into enemy territory by both sides. But by and large, it's been all about the outpost. Mecha unit tossing some fire across the titular chasm. Getting some smoke off of that Bertha, taking it down. Iamadeus. Somebody gets a vote called on them. That's just some underhanded shit right there. How are you going to try and kick out my man Broadside? What? Huh? Who called a vote on what? That shit just ain't right. Is he even lagging? I'm not perceiving any lag off of this. Tangibility gets EMP struck. Falls to creep. Duh. Just got that shit on macro, ready to go every time he bites it. Well, I hope he does have it on macro for when green unleashes a filthy Goliath line on their sparsely defended base. A longhorn and a jackal. But they are gonna level up pretty quickly on the plus side. Green doing just a really nice job here. Slowly but surely stuffing it deep into Blue's rectal crevasse. I don't fucking know. This is like the 12th game that I've called today. Cut me some slack. That Seeker cuts Mecha Unit no slack whatsoever. He does get in some filthy fucking base damage there, though. Was that all from him? I believe it was. As just a minute ago, I was talking about how neither side had taken any damage. When you do chain gun up that front door and are left unanswered, you're able to get a pretty nice amount of damage in. Broadside doing a little recon ahead of this push that he's trying to get in. It's not that big of a push, but it might be enough if Blue doesn't counter it correctly. Tangibility trying to spray up those Goliaths from behind. Not really a whole lot happening out of it. As the first Longhorn hits the scene and gets dumped by T-99 fire. Lone Goliath Darkblaze decides to micro it right in there. Does start getting shots in. Tangibility tries to get a jackal in between it. And I think we can call that tank push successfully snapped off. Blue still hanging on to this, but it looks like they've been thinned out a bit too. Oh, and green with some Archies very close up. Tangibility with the assistance of a T-99 makes short work of it. But still, Blue in kind of a bad way. Yeah, they had a lot more Berthas before. Green kind of had a bit taken out of them from that push. So if Blue was going to get a counter in, now would be a good time for it. JuliusCaesar with his 100,000 credits might be well served to buy some shit with those. What exactly does my man have queued up? A Archie? Broadside, yeah, it looks to be that way. You'll forgive me for just now realizing this. The action just so intense that it's easy to lose track. Tangibility goes... Oh, Broadside with destroying both active members of the blue team. Broadside OP. At this point, I'm inclined to agree with that assessment. Despite being down a guy, Blue still holding green back to a point. Broadside unleashing his OP-dom on this southwestern factory. Tangibility exhibiting a little OP-dom himself. JuliusCaesar. Maybe he got stabbed by Brutus. We don't know. What we do know is that this mid is still the bone of contention, as it has been for the entire match, basically. Blue rolling jackals and Iamadeus trying to chew into him with those bomber hooks. Not allowed to do it. Mecha unit going down. And look at this. The outpost goes neutral. Blue snags it up. And green without the true presence to at least immediately neutralize it, although it does quickly go back to the gray state. And both sides with creeps going in, canceling each other out. So blue making what could be considered a little bit of progress. Well, yeah, Beppo is kind of slow. That's like his thing. He's slow, but he takes a ton of damage and he gives it out. That's kind of his... It's kind of his bit. Yeah, but when he respawns, he does it in the most overpowered way. The entire green team in respawn right now, or a couple of seconds ago. So give credit to Tangibility and Mecha Unit not letting the AFK-dom of their bomber guy get in the way of some serious ass whip. They know he's there. Yeah, he goes down. Dun dun dun. Tangibility going toe-to-toe with a Seeker and comes out okay. Levels up. And that will bring us to overtime. This middle, for a while, one team or the other kind of had a pretty good grip on it, but now it's largely up for grabs. As we see, well, blue doesn't... Actually, yeah, they do. They do have a pretty decent amount of artillery coverage on it. Green does as well. And as it is at the moment, neither side that hangs on to this is going to do so for very long. As we see right there. Particularly with blue, with those 4 horns right there. And they're really trying to cordon it off and... I guess A, keep green from getting creeps in there. And B, start making a dent in green's guys on this side. Here it comes. Let's see what blue's got to say about this. A few jackals and some chain gunnage. A drill and a Goliath. Iamadeus ripping up those jackals with his bomber. Broadside and Tangibility go at it. Does get the kill on Mecha Unit. And if I had to guess, I would say that blue probably in good shape to repel this one as well. I think that they've got enough time. And this line is broken up enough where blue is going to be able to stop this from doing any appreciable damage. I could be wrong about that. We'll see if I am momentarily. I mean, that is a pretty good-sized push, but again, you've got like one chunk of it here and then another block back here. I'll be surprised if no base damage gets done, but I don't think that it's... I'm pretty sure that this isn't game right here. One thing blue doesn't have going for them is that despite the 100,000 credits of fucking Julius Caesar, neither of their remaining guys really has any money at all to be dumping out defensive units. A pretty good amount of this D is going to fall on Tangibility. And his ability to get in some shots on those Goliaths. And as you can see, green getting a little bit of base damage in, but just a little bit, and they put an awful lot of money into that, too. They had a pretty big contingent around these parts that they, yeah, I believe they had the build up here. They pushed the entire thing into that. And if it had all hit at once, I think we would have seen more base damage come out. But as it was, it got broken basically into 2 waves, and blue was successfully able to get rid of both without taking a whole hell of a lot in damage. Broadside. I should be able to identify. I believe those are energy. They are. I like that. I have that build as well. Or I have the Energy Guardians on my Warthog. Load out as well. Just keep that chain gun going all night long. Amadeus. I don't know. I'll always go back and forth between those pronunciations, I suppose. This middle's still really up in the air. Probably, more so for green. Or I should say, they're a little bit compromised on it. Even though they've got that southwestern factory to kind of compensate for their loosened grip on this, they don't have that mass up on this side that they once did. So perhaps if we weren't in OT2 and with bleed off now a factor, blue would be in better shape to grab that. As it is, they got base damage coming from really 2 sources. Bleed off and green dumping tanks on them. It really is sucky that one of their dudes had to AFK out. Because we could well be seeing a different outcome if that $100,000 worth of troops was on the field for blue. As it is right at the moment, they're doing the only thing that they can do, which is try and get as much damage in on green as possible. The good news for them is that green has basically no base depth to speak of. Tangibility doing some work trying to get that southwestern factory out of their grip. I'm not sure how easily that's going to go. Actually, it shouldn't be that hard, but time really not on blue's side here. And Tangibility just barely getting back to base before getting shot up. Not even with the full refill. And it looks like he's going to try and... Oh, never mind. I thought he was going to try and use that jackal to steal. He heads right for that front door. Jams his minigun into it. And with the aid of a jackal, goes right to work on it. Ah, nice fake out. Gets a little bit more damage in before he winds up going down. 2 creeps. Still with the door. That was definitely a worthwhile strike in that it pretty much evened up the base health. And blue's going to need to do more of that because they're not taking this one down on map control, and I think they realize it. Tangibility going in for the same thing. I do like that. Dropping 1 jackal at the northeastern factory. Spreading the love out a little bit. Again with the fake out. He does get green down into critical. Again with the daw. I think he's actually Bill Cosby. This is Bill Cosby's AirMech account. Daw. If he tries to sell us Jello pudding at the end of this, we'll know for sure. God, that couldn't be much more dated of a joke if I wanted it to be. Amadeus. neutralizes that fucking power generator. That is just bad news for blue. They are officially taking all of that bleed off. And with this match as close as it is, with those base healths as tight as they are, that's just rough and rowdy. Tangibility makes a last-ditch shot to get that last 20% or 15% or so off of green space. It's not going to be enough. The green team takes this one down.